guys, it's Emily. I am back with another speed build for you. This is a cute little build I had in mind for the Sparked Golden Age challenge. And I knew I wanted to have, basically my character that I was building this for was a gnome collector. And so I was trying to figure out how I could do a cute little cottage and still be unique, that you would find like a cottage where you would find a bunch of gnomes. And so I wanted to do kind of like a tiny home vibe, kind of a hermit vibe, but I wanted it to be unique, and so I had to kind of fiddle around with the roofing. I wanted to have a really unique shape to it, with a lot of fantasy build feel to it. And so you'll see me here trying to work the roofs in kind of a different way than you normally would be able to place them. I use this roof technique a lot to get things situated, but the challenge is that if you change anything like a wall or even add wallpaper, then these roofs that you have placed in the non-traditional way will actually completely disappear. And so that's why you see I have them set where I want them, but then I slid them back over so that they're not going to be affected and disappear. Again, I wanted to have this real kind of organic feel to the roof, and so that's why a lot of the time you'll see me here is just spent trying to figure out how to get this roof to look like something special. And again, with that alternative placement, by creating that room and then either sliding it up or down like you'll see right there, you can have the roofs at different heights that you normally wouldn't be able to if you just place them on top of the room there like you traditionally do. Again, I wanted to have this real kind of outdoorsy vibe, so rock and wood, and just, you know, I knew it was going to be small, so just trying to make it special somehow, knowing that it was going to be small. And we basically have just a one-room hut. Unfortunately, because of the deck area that you see there, it doesn't qualify as a tiny home, which I was thinking it absolutely would, because I think the interior is like 4x4. But yeah, due to that decking, it doesn't qualify as a tiny home. Again, I wanted to have something unique with the landscaping, and so I wanted to have this kind of raised area to just kind of distinguish it from the surrounding area. And so that's why I chose to do that deck area. Again, just to make it a little bit different than you would normally do for kind of a house, a traditional house anyway. And then we did use the technique where you shrink down the windows to kind of delete the walls on those, on the roofing there. Just unfortunately, normally what I would do would be to shrink them down to very minuscule size with the tool mod, but again, since this was for the Spark challenge, I wasn't able to do that. And so you see them floating there, and I ultimately place a light in the center of that, and so hopefully it kind of disguises it a little bit. So that was really what I was going for, was just trying to get that wall to make it look like an overhang over the front door there. Again, just wanted to keep some of those organic shapes, so, you know, I used the rounded decking to kind of make it feel a little bit more like it kind of grew up out of the ground, and that it's not this rigid kind of industrial feel. I wanted it definitely to have that organic fantasy vibe to it. So it's not a real complicated build, with the exception of, like I said, I'm just doing some different roofing techniques. Again, with the landscaping, just trying to get that little varying height. Again, we went with the kind of built-in, like self-built vibe of that fencing. I think that's a Sulani fencing. I just thought it was perfect for, you know, the whole vibe of this area. And if you look at the surrounding area with the kind of the water and the rock outcroppings and kind of the greenery, like I really wanted this house to fit in with that. And I feel like it definitely feels kind of like a hobbit hole if it was above the ground, or, you know, something of that kind of fantasy genre. Again, this was going to be a gnome collector in here, and so I knew we were going to have a lot of like hidden gnomes, and You know, the lot traits reflect that kind of vibe I was going for. I don't remember what the lot traits are at the moment, but definitely the gnomes one was part of it. I think maybe something like good gardening or like good fertile or whatever that trait is. I used a couple of the Star Wars items. I have been doing a few builds and I've been able to incorporate the items even though they're kind of really kind of a more industrial or let's say tattered look. I've been able to really utilize them a lot. So as a builder, I just love that pack. Like the pack itself contains a lot of items for a game pack, so that's really fun, and I'm able to use a lot of the items, and so that was a pleasant surprise. And I feel like actually a lot of builders have been able to utilize that pack in a really efficient way. So you know, even if you don't like the gameplay particularly, and if you build at all, then definitely check out that pack. It just has a lot of cool items, and I really enjoy using it in my builds. Again, not having the tool mod was really tricky for me. I've really come to rely on that for my creativity, and you know, I really like this build even without being able to use the tool mod. I think it's just a cute little, you know, hut in the woods, and therefore we had, I think inside we have a counter, but you know, we don't have the traditional like kitchen area. I think we have the outdoor grill, and that's the only kind of cooking area that we have. I think I did put a sink in. That it's an outdoor sink. We don't have a traditional toilet. I did end up creating a little outhouse, and I think actually in the end I did put a traditional toilet in that. But we also have like a bucket with a shrunk down the outdoor bush where you can fertilize it or nap in it, just because I saw that on somebody's stream. I'm trying to think of who that was. Unfortunately, it's not going to come to me in time, but and I thought it was such a brilliant idea because your Sims actually like squat over the bucket, and so you know it really was kind of an idea I couldn't pass up on for this you know, this build. Here, due to the way placing those roofs at kind of an alternative way, when you slide them over, the wall disappears. And so I had to get creative with how to fill in this space. And you'll see initially I had sized up those rounded windows to try and kind of fill that gap, but it really didn't look right. And so in the end, I found these debug items and we're just kind of placing them to fill in the gap. And I think it works pretty well with the siding. It's consistent with that wood look. And, you know, I was able to find a creative solution that didn't involve using the tool mod. Again, it's such a challenge for me at this point because I rely on that mod so much now. And if you haven't tried that mod and you're a builder, I would say definitely give it a whirl. It can be kind of tricky to get used to using it, but it's definitely worth it in the end. Watch Twisted Mexie's tutorial. He gives so many different ideas and how you're able to do things. There was a handful of things I didn't even know you could do until I watched the tutorial, and I've been using it for, you know, a year now. So I definitely recommend that to builders. At least give it a try. And the fact that you don't need the mod installed and things will appear correctly if you download them from the gallery. And so that's the awesome thing, is because the game recognizes the items that you're kind of placing in a way you wouldn't normally be able to with the mod, and so it's not an issue for custom content or anything like that. Again, the interior, I really wanted to have this rustic feel. I love the flooring from Star Wars. It's like so perfect for these kind of builds. And again, there's not much to it. We have, I think, a bed in the interior and maybe like a counter for cooking. Here you'll see that bush I was talking about in the bucket. You actually click on the bush and your Sims will do the animation like they're kind of peeking into the bush, but then they squat, and in that scenario they're like squatting on the bucket, so it's kind of fun. here's the little outhouse. I didn't like the way the roof sat up so high, and so I did end up making those shorter walls, and then as you'll see here, kind of dragging over that roof. Yes, we do have that homemade toilet in there, so you can use the bucket and the bush if you want, or you can use this toilet, so there are options for you there. Yeah, so I ended up creating that little outhouse area, and then there's the main building, and that's really all there is to this build. Again, I wanted to keep it really simple. I wanted to focus on kind of this rustic feel, out, you know, a hermit out in the woods, and like obsessed with these gnomes that won't stop infesting his property. And so in the end, he ends up collecting them and keeping them, and they're like pets. And you know, it was kind of this like story I had in my mind about how I wanted to portray this golden age, because one of the things it said is create a room with a hobby that they have, and for some reason it popped into my head that his hobby in you know, in this world, in this build, is collecting gnomes, just because they're infesting his property. And so it's kind of like he has to invest in this hobby, just because otherwise it's going to drive him crazy. So that's how I came up with that plan. I don't know. Sometimes my mind comes up with the craziest things. Again, you'll see here, I wanted to have a fireplace because I was thinking, you know, off the grid, we need a heat source, and traditionally that would be a fireplace. And then again, we have a counter, we have a bed, and that's pretty much all there is to this build inside. Otherwise, we end up filling it up with the gnome collection. So I really struggled with how to display them. I loved those shelves. I thought they were really rustic from Jungle Adventure, but the space in between them was just not big enough for me to place the different gnomes. And so I thought, originally I wanted to have them on display, like very organized, and you know, they would be lined up on the shelves. And in the end, I end up coming up with a much cuter solution in my mind, and definitely more fitting for the build. Again, those shelves I think are really perfect, but the uniformity of it just wasn't what I was going for, in the same vibe that I was going for. So as you see here, I tried out this Star Wars item, and again, we end up using these different crates, and I think it ends up perfect for this build. There's the Star Wars kind of crate looking things, and then we have the ones from Cats and Dogs. I believe those are from, with the little crates that maybe you presumably would be catching fish in. And so you'll see here, I'm just using the different gnomes and putting them in their little crates, and you know, I think it totally fits with the kind of mishmash style, and definitely much better than the uniform shelves that if I had successfully done that, then I wouldn't have stumbled across this. So sometimes when you're not able to do something, it works in your favor. So I'm really pleased that that ended up being the case. And again, you know, just his collection of all these different little gnome areas, gnome in the different areas. You know, I kind of felt like he might have started to become this gnome hoarder. So I really wanted to pack the place with all these different kind of gnomes. And again, I sprinkled them throughout the exterior as well. Like, you know, there's basically gnomes everywhere. They are like overriding the property, and so he has just become a gnome collector because of it. So that's what he spends his days doing, is kind of hunting gnomes, and you know, just kind of hanging out at this property. And you know, he has a kind of a love-hate with them. Like, you know, they're kind of fascinating, but at the same time they're causing mischief and like infesting his property. And so that was kind of my vision for this. We have some crates outside as well. Again, like, you know, we have them in the sink, we have them in the grill, you know, they're just kind of everywhere. And, you know, I had a lot of fun thinking of this story of this, and, you know, like I said, the build is kind of simple. It did use, you know, some of the tricks with the roofing and whatnot, and, you know, some kind of thinking outside of the box and how to do some things, but, you know, overall, I think it's just a really cute build. You could definitely kind of change it up if you wanted it to have the tiny home perks. You could eliminate that kind of decking area that, again, I made it I tried to make it anyway so that it, felt like it was just a raised area and, with the grass. And so, if you really wanted it to be a true tiny home, you would have to eliminate that deck area. But we were able to fit in kind of all the basic needs. We have laundry, we have, everything you could need. Toilet, eating. So, I felt like it's just a really kind of basic needs, kind of rustic cabin, but in the end, I felt it was perfect for what I was thinking with the gnome collecting for the golden age. And that really was kind of fun to think about and come up with a story. And so I really enjoyed working on this for the Spark Challenge. And, I like checking out everybody else's builds too. So that's the awesome thing, is the gallery kind of tags everything and you can see the different creations that people have come up with, and it's so fun to see that. So I also created a sim for it, and I really had so much fun doing that. So with that, I hope you guys are having a great day, and take care. See you next time.